I'm looking at an article. Folks. Didn't do slightly early this morning because I woke up at 11:30. Just fucking done with it. I'm done with it. Done with painkillers. I saw this article from Bleach Report. I thought, let me talk about this real quick. Get the blood flowing. I'm working on another ramble video for the main channel where I go over the last 20 or so NBA finals with Game 7 coming up. But I want to look at this. Top 30 NBA free agents. I really don't even know who's a free agent. I haven't even had time to look at that yet. Usually free agency is like so dead that I honestly don't even really care. But yeah, let me look into it and just see who's available and what they think's going on. They got Myles Turner on the front of this, so I'm interested to see what they think's going to happen with him. Nick Batum, a top 30 free agent. Batum is hilarious because like he's one of these guys where it looked like his career was over and it was just going to be it for Batum. Then he goes back to the Clippers and it's like, oh, actually this guy's still an unbelievably elite role player. So how old are we looking at? I thought Batum was going to retire. Batum's 36. He'll turn 37 in December. I thought he was going to retire. Did I not remember that? Didn't he say that? Batum goes back to the Clippers, 2 years, $5.6 million deal. Yeah, that makes sense to me. That works. I think Batum's still an incredibly valuable player, and if he's your 8th or 9th best player, you're doing pretty well. Kelly Oubre Jr. What's his contract going to look like? I just now realized I saw the picture of Kelly Oubre Jr., and then I made a grunting sound. That wasn't, don't interpret that any other way. It was just me grunting. I guess I grunt. Oubre opts in to finish his current contract with the Sixers. His player option is $8.4 million. Yeah, that feels about right. I don't know if Kelly Oubre is making anything more than that on the open market. Just one of these players where it's just, not a mid-level guy at all. And probably a taxpayer mid-level would be what we're talking about. That makes some sense to me. 29 years old. 29% from 3 last year. Yeah. $8.4 million. It seems about the best you're going to get. D'Lo. I've been thinking about D'Angelo Russell and his contract lately. I can't imagine a team throws a mid-level at him. A taxpayer mid-level, $5.9 million I could see. I was thinking about him because I was thinking about him in the context of the Dallas Mavericks. Like, does the Mavericks making a play for someone like D'Lo make some sense? I asked that because you have the three-point shooting, you have the playmaking. It is kind of a perfect little stopgap point guard for a few months. Just somebody who can shoot well from 3. And doesn't he start the season really well? Isn't that the D'Angelo Russell experience, or is it the other way around where it gets good towards the end of the season? Because I feel like always at the beginning of the season, it's like, see, we told you, D'Lo. We told you to be patient with D'Lo. I'm looking at it right now. He was just fucking pretty bad last year all the way around. But I thought about him, and I'm just like, $5.8 million? I mean, that feels right. What is Bleacher Report thinking? Perhaps the Milwaukee Bucks step up with his best offer at the taxpayer mid-level exception. Yeah, so Bucks, huh? That makes some sense as well. Like one of these teams, these veteran teams that need like a stopgap point guard. For the Bucks, they really just need a guy for the whole season. I think the Bucks, honest to God, should bring back Kevin Porter Jr. Like I think he played pretty well for them, and I think they should look into bringing him back if that's at all possible. But D'Lo, yeah, that makes some sense to me. I think the Mavs probably check in on him if I had to guess. Luke Kornet. Look, Luke Kornet was really good with the Celtics. I cannot help but feel like he's one of these players where if a team saw the 15, 20 Luke Kornet minutes and said, holy shit, like that guy could be our starting center. You see this from time to time with players where teams get like sucked into this. I cannot help but feel like a team would be massively disappointed in what they got, but I'm wondering what they're thinking his market's going to be. Biannual exception, maybe enough for the Atlanta Hawks to pry him away from the Celtics. What's the biannual exception? That's about $5 million. If you guys don't know what the biannual exception is, every 2 years, if you're under the tax or some shit. I mean, what is it? Here it is. The most common tool over the cap teams use to sign free agents for other teams is the mid-level exception. But that's not the only exception that those clubs have to squeeze an extra player on the payroll. The biannual exception, the BAY as we call it, is a way for teams to sign a player who may command more than the minimum salary but less than the mid-level. It's supposed to be used every other season, even if a team only uses a portion of the exception. It's off limits the final year. It's only available to a limited number of clubs, even among those that didn't use the exception during the previous season. Teams that create and use space forfeit. Okay, I don't fucking know. It's like $6 million. All right, something along those lines. Luke Kornet, yeah, for sure. I actually think that would be a pretty good deal for the Hawks, to be honest with you. The Hawks will be in the market for a center, and that's why I've been so adamant about maybe Gafford going to the Atlanta Hawks because it makes so much sense to me. Clint Capela, Are they going to have the Lakers here? Lakers and Clint Capela feels like it might be a done deal. Done deal. Okay? We're a dill pickle family here. Capela may be a stopgap for the Lakers via the taxpayer mid-level exception. Yeah, $5 million for an aging Clint Capela who definitely has lost a step. Okongwu's the guy now in Atlanta. I don't think it's impossible Atlanta brings it back if that's how much he's going for, especially if some of their fallback plans don't come through. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Rim running big next to Luka and LeBron who can block some shots, rebound the basketball. It's kind of what the Lakers are looking for, although I will say I think he's definitely lost a step or two. Caris LeVert at 25 feels actually kind of low. To be honest with you, I think LeVert's like, we're talking about guys so far who are like maybe minimum guys, taxpayer mid-level, biannual exception. LeVert's contract will be, I think, probably even more than the mid-level. I think you're probably like $17, $18 million would be my guess. Sign and trade candidate perhaps, but don't sleep on the Mavericks here. I'm just going to tell you that. Don't sleep on the Mavericks' potential sign and trade here. The Hawks might be moving Clint Capela, but Caris LeVert may remain productive bench scorer in their plans. Yeah, I think Atlanta should keep him. Back with the Hawks on a 2-year deal starting at about $15 million. Yeah, that feels about right for me. Again, a little bit higher than the mid-level. Probably a sign and trade guy if he were to go somewhere else, but I think LeVert makes a lot of sense staying in Atlanta. Russ. I'd rather have LeVert than Russ. So in terms of just these rankings and stuff like that, I'd much rather have Caris LeVert than Russell Westbrook at this juncture. Russ declined his team option, and that could just be him declining it to stay in Denver. I can't imagine. No team's going to throw a mid-level at him. Taxpayer mid-level's possibility. These teams that need stopgap point guards like Milwaukee, like Dallas, will almost certainly take a look at Russ. And I would guess Denver. Westbrook opts out but resigns at or slightly above the minimum in a marriage of convenience. Yeah, that's the best way to put it. Marriage of convenience. I think the teams that'd be interested in him are probably limited. And I think Denver probably got the best case scenario with Russ this past offseason. Tyus Jones. Again, I'd rather have Caris LeVert than Tyus Jones pretty comfortably. Tyus Jones was incredibly disappointing. Incredibly disappointing this year for Phoenix. This idea that, this like career-long backup point guard, he can be our stopgap starting point guard. I think that failed tremendously. He's so bad defensively that it's hard to rely on him for heavy minutes is the reality of the situation at hand, unless you have a great defensive team surrounding him. Obviously, again, these teams that need stopgap point guards, a lot of point guards on the market this year. These teams that need stopgap point guards will absolutely be, knocking on that door. Yeah, Orlando does make quite a bit of sense. The Orlando Magic, who need ball handling and shooting, pick up Jones for the taxpayer mid-level exception. $5 million. I could see that, and that actually works, even after the Bane trade. I think that'd be a pretty nice pickup for them. And they traded away Cole Anthony, Cole Anthony, whatever, but it was their backup point guard. Their go-to guy off the bench, and Tyus Jones can sort of fill that role. Dennis Schröder. So, I know I'm bringing up the Mavericks quite a bit here. Mavericks only have taxpayer mid-level, and they have to do some stuff to create that, but they only have the taxpayer mid-level at their disposal. If Schröder were available for that, I'm on my hands and knees. Except not really, because I can't, I'm on my one leg begging Nico Harrison to go and get Dennis Schröder. I think he's a good player. I think he's a full mid-level guy, potentially. He had a great year for the Pistons. I bet the Pistons bring him back. The only way the Pistons don't bring him back, if I had to guess, is if they make like a sizable swing for another ball handler. And they don't really need the guard help. Back with the Pistons at a similar salary, provided the team does land a big fish in free agency. Oh my God, did I read this? Are they reading my mind? Is this some new AI tool? Is this some new AI tool where they're reading my mind as I'm saying this stuff? I used that $13 million last year. Yeah, that feels about right to me. Again, right around the full mid-level. I think teams that have access to the full mid-level would throw it at Dennis Schröder if they needed a point guard. Davion Mitchell. Restricted, right? Is he a restricted free agent? Yeah, he's a restricted free agent. Interesting. The restricted free agency makes this complicated. I can't imagine he's not on the... I like the Mitchell 45. Hey, I have a hard time imagining he's not back in Miami next year. But I don't know what the price point would be. Restricted free agency is always hard because you have to, if your goal is to just sign these guys, you have to make the offer as unappealing as possible to the team willing to match, which means you'd have to grossly overpay for Davion Mitchell, or it would have to be a sign and trade. Yeah, there's some teams I think could be interested, but I'm willing to bet he just stays in Miami. The Heat bring him back to at a salary close to, but slightly under the non-taxpayer mid-level exception. Yeah, Yeah, that makes about sense. That makes sense to me. Like $12 million a year. That works. He played really well. He played really well for the Heat down the stretch. So 44% from three, man. Wow, look at that. And 30 regular season games after the trade. Yeah, did play well, and was one of the few guys who did anything even remotely positive in that series against the Cavs. They should just like burn that from the history books, NBA history books. It was so embarrassing. Chris Paul. Grandpap, I saw some tweets going around that was like, Chris Paul expected to sign with the Mavericks. I was like, huh? And I clicked on it, and it was just Sports Illustrated just saying like, yeah, that he might. Like, it's a possibility. I'm like, okay. Thank you for wasting all of our times. My guess is Chris Paul, and I'm going to do like a big free agency prediction video, but my guess is that Chris Paul goes back to LA, whether that's with the Lakers or the Clippers. That would be my guess. That minimum will probably be what he ends up going for. You remember he did sign a contract for $10 million last year. So there's a possibility that he's like, no, I'm not doing a minimum. I want like a taxpayer mid-level or mid-level, something like that. You know, he's also like high up in the Players Association, or he was at one point or something. And usually those guys don't take discounts. So I'd be interested to see what they have. Oh, here we go. Bleacher Report is predicting the Dallas Mavericks, who need a replacement guard until Kyrie Irving is healthy, use the taxpayer mid-level exception on Chris Paul. Wait, is that where all of these fucking articles are coming from? This? I mean, yeah, I'd be happy with that for sure. I would be happy with that. I did on my main channel. You guys go check it out. I did a video where I like was the GM of the Mavericks, and I had them using their taxpayer mid-level on D'Anthony Melton, who I'm assuming is just not even going to be on here, just because I kind of like it, and I think beyond like I'd rather take a shot on D'Anthony Melton than any of the other like taxpayer mid-level guys we've talked about up until this point, other than Schröder if he's considered that. Or Caris LeVert, he's not going to be going for that much. But I like the potential upside for him as someone coming off an ACL injury. But yeah, I mean, Chris Paul, for 40 years old, like if it weren't for LeBron, we'd be talking about how crazy it is that Chris Paul is still like contributing at a decent level as a 40-year-old. So some team out there will use him and need him, and it could be the Mavs, absolutely. Ty Jerome is probably lost himself a little bit of money in the playoffs. He looked fucking terrible. Ty Jerome is... I never know what to think of these players because it does feel, you can't help but feel like some team is going to fall for it. You see this every year. Some team's going to fall for it and throw them, $14 million a year, and it's going to be a disaster. I mean, how often do you see this? Now, I do like his game, and I don't think his game is like necessarily super dependent on other guys. Like, for example, the Denver Nuggets guys, where it's like, yeah, Bruce Brown looked great. We paid him $20 million, and he hasn't even come close to performing at that level. Well, it's because he was playing next to Jokic, and how much did that boost? Like, Ty Jerome's capable of getting stuff off on his own. I guess if I was a team that had the mid-level, I would feel okay using it for Ty Jerome, but I think it's kind of a bit of a risky venture. The Sacramento Kings have the non-tax mid-level exception available and need a strong starting capable guard who can come off the bench. So the Kings get him at what even is the non-taxpayer mid-level this year? Around like 13 mil. What is it going to be this year? $12.8 million is what it looks like. Okay. Non-taxpayer mid-level exception, 9.2% of the cap. So $14 million this year for Ty Jerome. I wouldn't feel great about it, but I also wouldn't hate it. But I wouldn't feel all that great about it. Al Horford, Big Al. Where are we at with the age with him? 47? Is he 47, 8 years old at this point? He kind of, I mean, last time Big Al changed teams, it was a disaster. Right? It kind of feels like he's one of these, like, Boston is just where I like to play at. It's where I play my best. He's going to turn 40 years old during the season next year. I'm sorry. He just turned 39. Happy belated. I'm assuming he goes back to Boston, right? And I'm assuming it's for cheap. I can't imagine there's too many teams that will throw a hefty bag at him. Unless the Celtics just go extreme under the tax, Horford returns at a slight discount, $7 to $8 million. Is $8 million for Horford a discount? All right, yeah. I mean, I could see if they're like really desperate to cut salary, I could see him leaving. But then again, I don't know what team out there is paying Horford a bunch of money in the offseason. Guerschon Yabusele is interesting. There's been reports lately that it feels like he's leaving. Like, it feels like the Sixers cannot bring him back. I wonder what that means. It sounds like they're going to prioritize Quentin Grimes. So I'm guessing a team. Yeah, Guerschon Yabusele to me is a full non-taxpayer mid-level guy. If I have it available to me, this is a guy that I'm going after 100%. $13-14 million. Well, let's stamp it in. I wonder who they have. San Antonio Spurs, they have $8 million to spare. $8 million feels low. Am I wrong for thinking this is like a full mid? How many teams even have access to the full mid-level? Is that something I can look up? How many teams do they even project to have access to that? How many teams will have access to non-tax mid-level exception NBA? We did it, guys. All right. It doesn't appear like there's an article anywhere. All right. I do feel like someone out there will pony up for that. Maybe I'm wrong. That's kind of my read of it. Cam Thomas is restricted free agent. It's kind of funny because I don't imagine any team's going to pony up anything for Cam Thomas. It would be interesting if it were, if Cam Thomas were on another team, because I could see like Brooklyn just being like, fuck it, we'll pay Cam Thomas $28 million. We'll give him a cap sheet, $28 million, a signing sheet, a restricted free agency sheet. Yeah, he is one of the tougher ones to gauge. While he's believed to have been seeking over $30 million in prior negotiations per year, $30 million per year. Oh, man. No. I'm sorry. I don't even know if I'm going to broach 20. No, I guess we can broach 20. This is one of those guys, though, and this is why restricted free agency exists. I always hate when teams sign these, question mark players who are restricted free agents to big trades or to big contracts before the restricted free agency. It makes no sense to me. This thing's in place for you to utilize it, right? Like the Suns, I thought they did a good job. They haven't done a lot of good things front office wise, but I thought they did a good job with Ayton's free agency and waiting it out, and the Pacers did pony up. The Nets and Thomas compromise on a 3-year deal starting in the $24 million range. Again, I'm letting him play that out. I'm sorry. I don't think he's a centerpiece of my team moving forward. I would like to keep him. I'd like to have him around. Absolutely. Don't want to lose the asset for nothing, but who am I competing with in restricted free agency? I don't think I'm going to be competing with anybody. So I'm going to let this play out as long as possible. Dodo is a free agent. Really? Dodo's a free agent? Okay. I'm assuming he goes back to LA. Is he a guy that you would burn your non-taxpayer mid-level on? $14 million? Lakers keep Finney-Smith for as long as they keep Doncic in the $12 to $16 million starting range, lower if it's a longer deal. Yeah, that makes some sense to me. I do think he'll stay in LA. All right, it just went up to the top of the page. Thank you very much, Bleach Report. I do think he'll probably stay in LA. But there would be some suitors if I had to imagine. I even think a team like, Sacramento, we mentioned him with the guards, but they still need wings desperately bad if they're going to try and contend and keep competing. So I could see them offering that full non-taxpayer mid-level to him if maybe they don't find a guard they like on the market. But yeah, him returning to LA makes all the sense in the world. Brook Lopez, man, looking fucking jacked. Brook, man, what's your regimen? Steroids? Oh, same. $23 million this last year for Brook. Sometimes it looks like he's moving with cement shoes on. I mean, he's just so slow now. So slow. But still an impactful rim protector. I think still an impactful offensive player. Part of me does feel like he's almost too important to Milwaukee sometimes for them to let him go, especially if it's going to be cheap. I can't imagine he's making $23 million again. If the Bucks aren't trading out to Tecumpo, they likely keep the still productive Lopez despite his age. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. Obviously, if you trade Giannis, there's no point in bringing back Brook. But as long as you're keeping him and you want to stay competitive and you just have limited avenues to improve your roster if you're Milwaukee, you got to keep a guy like Brook Lopez. $15 million, that probably it will end up being what it costs, huh? Only because I could see a team that has some money prodding at Brook Lopez to see if maybe they can poke him away. Malik Beasley is an interesting one. I think he probably earned himself quite the payday this offseason with how good he was for Detroit last year. 41% from three. Didn't he lead the league in three-point makes? Or was that Anthony Edwards? It went down the last day of the season. Yeah, unless another team offers the non-taxpayer mid-level the most the Pistons can pay, maybe the RMLE. What the fuck is the RMLE, man? Wait, what? This is a new one. RMLE? What is the RMLE? Room mid-level exception. Dude, they're just making shit up on the fly. Room mid-level. I have heard of this before, but I have no clue what the I have no clue what the room mid-level is. What is the room mid-level? What is the room mid-level? In the NBA, the room mid-level exception, or room exception, is a salary cap exception that allows team under the salary cap to sign free agents. It's a smaller version of the mid-level exception, specifically designed for teams that are below the salary cap. Okay. Pistons are still below the salary cap? Interesting. All right. Damn. That doesn't even make sense to me in the modern NBA for a team that was like good and competitive. $7.2 million. I feel like he'll probably make more than that if I had to guess. I think Malik Beasley would be one of the most sought after free agents who like could potentially be pried away. Santi Aldama, is he restricted? He is restricted. Santi Aldama is an interesting one. If I'm Brooklyn and I've got money to spend, this is a guy that I give an uncomfortable contract to, 100%. If I'm any team that has some salary cap to spend, a player like Santi Aldama is somebody who I'm paying an uncomfortable amount of money and forcing the team that I'm working with to match. And if I'm Brooklyn, I'm doing that 100%. Like, yeah, Jonathan Kaminga, but I'm doing it for Santi Aldama. I don't know what that uncomfortable, like something that starts with the twos. Like, are we talking 20 million something a year? Yeah, Grizzlies get another trade to keep Aldama in the 20 million starting range. Yeah, that might seem crazy. Santi Aldama, $20 million. But no, that makes some sense to me. For his age, 24 years old, he is 7 feet tall. He can do a lot of different things on the basketball court. Again, if I'm Brooklyn, I'm making this uncomfortable as possible for Memphis. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, yeah, if he's a full mid-level guy, 100%. Any team, especially any contending team that has access to the mid-level, will be making a play for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. That goes without being said. The Hawks steal him away with their mid-level. Okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. I would like that for them quite a bit, honestly. I would like that for them quite a bit. They do kind of need another guard. I did like a mock KD to the Timberwolves trade where the Hawks swooped in and got Dante DiVincenzo in the deal, and I like that one quite a bit. Them going after a player like this makes a ton of sense, and I would actually really like that for them. I think best case scenario is Minnesota brings him back because I do think he's important. I think he's important for them. Kaminga, again, from the Warriors, I'm letting this entire thing play out, which it does sound like they're going to, which is smart. I'm not giving him a contract until another team offers him one. There's reports that Miami views him as a backup option. What is his? The Warriors find a sign and trade with a mystery team. Stay tuned for an upcoming Bleacher Report theoretical. Hey! That ain't right. I cannot for the life of me, man. The buzz from last offseason was that Kaminga wanted an extension starting in the $35 million range. I mean, if you're a team paying him that, you're fucked. I'm sorry. Like, if you're a team paying him that, you are in deep, deep doo-doo. Quentin Grimes. Would you rather have Quentin Grimes or Jonathan Kaminga? I'm just saying, who would you rather have? Quentin Grimes is an interesting one. He's restricted as well. Yeah, get it. Let all your anger out in the comment section. Trust me, I'm there with you guys. Sixers who need to retain talent give Grimes an above non-taxpayer mid-level exception deal, perhaps in the $17 million starting range. Yeah, 17 mil. So, in defense of Nico Harrison, that right there is exactly why he was traded, because the Mavericks just under no circumstances were going to be able to pay that. Now, of course, the argument could be made that, well, you should have gotten more in the trade. You got nothing in the trade besides Caleb Martin, who's just and maybe a negative asset at this point. And you also gave up a pick in the trade. Yeah, I agree with you there. You probably should have gotten more. And you could also make the argument, well, now you could have opened up the possibility of a sign and trade, which you could have done that as well this offseason. But again, like I said, the Mavericks were just not going to be able to do this. And so because of that, their leverage in free agency would have been terrible, and teams would have known that. And also, hey, I'll throw this out there. It's not Nico's fault. Nico fell ass forwards, but or it's not Nico's doing. He fell ass forwards. If they kept Quentin Grimes, they were not gonna lose enough games to get the number 1 overall pick. That's just the truth. Josh Giddey. What do we think Giddey's contract is? Do we think it exceeds $30 million a year? If I had to guess, I'd probably say yes. Maybe right at $30 million. Another thing with the Bulls, where I might let his restricted free agency play out a little bit, but if I'm a team like the Nets, I would go for it if I felt it was possible. The Bulls retained Giddey in the $30 million starting range. Guys, they're listening in. I don't know what to tell you. Kyrie's staying with the Mavs. My prediction is 3 years, $120 million. Irving opts out and resigns, 3-year deal starting in the $35 million range. It'll be more than that. I think it'll be broaching $40 million a year. But even that is lower than his max that he can sign. Fred VanVleet has to opt in, right? Rockets opt out Fred VanVleet, but bring him back on a multi-year deal starting in the $27 to $32 million range. I don't know if we've seen a player do his free agency as masterfully as Fred VanVleet did. I mean, this is a lesson that they should teach agents and players and how he handled this, right? Sort of maximized his leverage, went to a team that had salary cap and needed a point guard for way more than he was worth, $40 million a year, and now is still so important to this team because they don't have any other adults and they don't have any other reliable ball handlers on the roster, that he still has them bent over a barrel and still can still negotiate for a contract in the $30 million range. Incredible. Julius Randle. What's the steroid regimen? You look great. I think, does he opt out and take a similar deal? Randle opts in with Minnesota not ready to offer the kind of long-term deal he expects. What would be his free agency? You know, if he wants to opt out and just say, fuck it, they're not giving me what I want. It's someone out there will, like, trying to put myself in the shoes of the Nets. Like, would that make some sense if you have so much money to spend and, you know, we're not going to be very good, but maybe we go out and get Julius Randle, let him do whatever he wants on our team, and maybe we can trade him down the line? Does that make any sense at all for you? I don't think so. You want to be young and you still want to be bad to get, as good of picks as you can possibly get in the lottery. Interesting. I mean, yeah, he's still in play for the KD trade. And I do think it's possible he gets traded, but Julius Randle did have a good year. Naz Reid. The Detroit Pistons could go hard for Reid, but right now pencil him back in Minnesota starting in the $25 to $30 million range. Holy fuck. 30 mil. God damn. I'm trying to look at this from Minnesota's perspective. You're going to have Gobert 30 mil. If Randle opts in 30 mil, Naz Reid 30 mil. McDaniel's contract. God damn. That's a lot of money. I mean, I think you have to do it, obviously. And I guess Naz Reid's worth that for sure. You know, if like Giddey, we just said Giddey $30 million. Like, yeah, Naz Reid's probably worth that as well. But I also do kind of feel like similar to what like I was saying about Ty Jerome, and obviously Naz Reid's way better than Ty Jerome, but similar where it's like Naz Reid does kind of strike me as one of these guys where, wow, what the fuck? We paid Naz Reid $33 million to be our starting center, and it's been disappointing. You know, like I could honestly see that just because, you know, he's not really a center, but teams would like pigeonhole him into that role. Why? Like, what's going on here? Why is this so laggy? Myles Turner staying with the Pacers, is this even really worth our time? I think a big reason why they made that draft trade they just made with the Pelicans was because they did not want that first round pick on their books so they can bring back Myles Turner for whatever it costs. The Pacers are in the NBA Finals. It's time to pay the taxes, which means rolling out $30 million starting salary for Turner. Yeah, the Pistons will probably make a run at him. They need a floor spacing big. James Harden is going to stay with the Clippers. I mean, these super high end guys. Also, can I make like a point here real quick? I know Kyrie Irving just had a torn ACL and stuff, but like in terms of ranking for agents, Myles Turner ahead of Kyrie. Like, what? Are we fucking serious? What are we doing? Harden opts out to re-sign with a raise of $40 million. He's only making $33 million this year, which is actually kind of crazy. $40 million for the next 2 years for the Clippers. Yeah, that makes sense. LeBron's going to stay in LA. James back to Lakers, whether opting in for a new 2-year deal with a player option or similar salary. Not a lot to go over there. And that's, come on, LeBron, put your Maverick jersey on. Yeah, I wanted to go over this real quick. Get my creative juices flowing. Start talking a little bit before I work on another video. But I wanted to just look at this because, honestly, I hadn't even really thought about free agency. This article predicts that the Mavs get Chris Paul, which, okay. But, you know, it's going to be interesting. It's not a lot to be super excited about in terms of the free agent market. So that's what this article taught me.